Okay, for your viewing enjoyment, if I can get these things posted, we are focusing on something besides the bear's nostrils this week. And so I'm not telling you what it is because that's the price of admission. Okay, I want to welcome Angela. Angela, I'm going to recap what I was just discussing with Kirsten. And would you please post your videos that you sent me in the chat room? That would be great.
Oh, God. Okay, I'll see if I can figure that out.
They're in your message thing. I was about to do it and didn't get it done before class. So, and we all love you. It's all good. Okay, so we were talking about the use of cycles during bridge and target training, and we know them for teaching animals to expand their tolerance of triggers. And we do things in a very mathematical way. And that helps the animals. We can see it help them. It helps them to hold on and persist in that case, being easy in order to make it through the entire cycle. If you don't tell the animal how long it's going to have a cycle for, sometimes they'll fail. And if you do tell them, most of the time they'll be successful. Similarly, with bridge and target, cycles are really strategic for helping the animal to increase duration, to make advances on behaviors that have an element of stress or risk. So maybe the animal isn't stressed by the idea of going up a ramp, but at some point it might be. And you need to just assume that the animal will be and train for that possibility. So for example, when I first started out training marine mammals, we were teaching these animals to go into a research chamber where it was for their metabolics. And so they would go up a ramp, get into a tank, and the lid would get lowered on the tank. And we were watching them and everything. We weren't going to let anything happen to the animals. But what do you think happens to the animal when all of a sudden it sees that it doesn't control its exit from the water? Just the stress of that can be terrible. And it can also ruin your research. So how much better for the animal to know that I'm going to be in the water for this amount of time and then they're going to let me out. And we practice that without the lid being on, and now I know the drill, and now they lower the lid a little and a little more and a little more, and now they've got it shut, but I've seen it open so many times, I've got it, I'm comfortable, I'm confident. Even before you get them into the water and lowering the lid down, there was a ramp that they had to go up about 8 feet high, and they would go up, and then they would jump off. Or they would go up and then somebody would lead them back down, but it was very haphazard. And what happens is they think they can just jump off of anything. So they get up to the top and they wouldn't be comfortable with going downhill down the ramp, and so they just go off the side of it. Well, they could get hurt that way. And we didn't want to encourage that. So the solution to that is to practice taking the animal up and down the ramp when they're only going 1 foot up the ramp. That way, if they go off the edge, big deal. But also, the inclination isn't a big deal. And then they start getting really used to it, and then they enjoy the challenge. Something that was difficult becomes fun when it's no longer taxing you to do it. And so now they're aces at going downhill. So then we would do 2 steps up, 2 steps down, 4 steps up, 4 steps down. Totally, you've got rid of the problem of taking the animal up the ramp and having them jump off the side of the ramp. Now, Kirsten, take us through that with teaching a kid to get into the water safely. How could you do expanding cycles from the side of the pool, and what would you do to move the kid from the stairs to going to the side of the pool? Or would you make sure that they always kept their exit to the stairs open, or what would you do?
What I typically do is when I first get them in the water, sometimes they're little, the parents hand them off to me. We walk over a certain amount of things, or like a certain distance, and I'll say, oh, look at those pictures. Those kids are swimming. That's what we're going to go do. There's a nice bulletin board. And then before we get in, I kind of put them down so they can move by themselves, and I make sure they get in safely because, it's slippery and they could fall.
Yeah.
And then I make sure, oh, look, these are stairs. And then we try to, I get them to move back and forth across the stairs just so they're used to walking in water. Because a lot of these kids have never even been, in a pool. Their parents are just okay, you need to learn how to swim. So they haven't gotten the chance to, explore it yet.
Yeah.
So, getting in and out, I think, to implement cycles, I don't know how, possible this would be considering, who I work for, but,
yeah.
I could take them in, okay, now we're in the pool, because what I usually say is, okay, once we're in the pool for 30 minutes, it's the rule of the club we're at, we have to stay in, just because they try to escape sometimes when they're kids, so.
Yeah, oh.
They don't try to get out of the pool and run away.
From their child.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
What we can do is, step in, step out, step in, and then, or just, kind of cycle around the stairs. Okay, you're stepping down this stair. Now let's go back and go forward more. Just so they understand that they will be able to get out. Because when I first started doing this, I noticed the kids would be more stressed, just like you were saying, when they don't control their own exit and entry.
Yeah.
Because it's scary for them. And, I could see it, so I've been trying to make sure they do know how to, glide over the steps and then put their foot down, because it seems like it would be intuitive, but it's not. So it needs to be explicitly taught.
The parents don't know how to make a kid confident, and so they don't want to have to remove the clinging kid from their body for various reasons. But it's really not that difficult to make the kids comfortable. And so let's talk about that for a minute. What does it take?
They need to first, I think, trust their environment and just get familiar with it. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. Sometimes they're fine right away. It depends on the kid. And then they need to, trust me kind of. And then I don't teach them this, but they need to understand that they're the ones in control of their own actions.
Yes.
And, anything I do with them, this is practice. This is, okay, we're going to go through it. But okay, now this is up to you. And I don't know.
And one
Forget what
thing,
you asked specifically.
yeah, and it can be really helpful to get them used to the safety things, the safety backups. So, for example, in my life, I taught my horse to understand about emergency dismounts, because sometimes the horse will panic because somebody has fallen and they feel like they did it wrong or they are going to get in trouble or something like that. And so they just take off. Well, it's not their fault. And they need to understand that you're going to come off. and they didn't do anything wrong, but you know, they do have things that they need to do. Like there's stuff that they need to do right. And so talking to the horse about it ahead of time is really strategic, because just like the kids, yeah, they panic. And the trick to getting them to not panic is for them to understand what's happening and what they can do about it, and to know ahead of time if it's predictable and they know it's not their fault, it's still upsetting to them. So my horse, it was the funniest thing because she really resented me falling off of her. And she would hitch her hip. When she felt me start to come off, she would hitch her hip and try to catch me. And she would stop and come and see me, but finally she was just like, so what's wrong with you? You know, why are you just falling off like that? And so on and so forth. And then I had to show her what we were going to do next. I asked her to learn to look for my phone and some other things like that, you know, like going to get help, coming to me, and not panicking, not kicking at me because I'm falling down around her, or getting panicked and running off and possibly dragging somebody if their foot is in the stirrup or whatever. And then here she's getting bridged, so I start to fall off and I'm bridging her. I'm not upset with her. I'm telling her, you're doing a great job. That's exactly what you need to do. So you turn this thing that starts out to be alarming, and you turn it into something that, you know, is understandable and somewhat predictable, and there's a right and a wrong way to do it. And you give them help in focusing on thinking about it rather than surrendering to the emotions of being upset because it's not totally predictable. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay, let me put a video link up here. And then a second one. Okay. You are welcome to do dogs and children since you're working with children, and we will not make any videos public on that. However, you know, it would probably be better if you don't actually show any children. Like there's a way to rub out their faces and stuff, and we would have to do that because we wouldn't want to set you up for any problems. Or you could send them to me in a form where I can just watch them and I don't have actual possession over them. But we can deal with the children learning the same way we deal with the dogs learning. So I just want to welcome you to do that. Okay, Kirsten?
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Sometimes some of I might be able to, like, because sometimes I do like to get videos of the kids, but there's some I just can't because, you know, like 100% of my attention needs to be on them.
Yeah.
But I'll see what I can do because there are definitely some things that would be really good for this class.
Yeah, and also it helps the kids to be able to watch themselves. So one of the things that I do with kids or animals both, or anybody else that wants to, is I turn the viewfinder, so I have a regular camera, and I can flip the viewfinder so that they can see what the camera sees. And it actually really helps them. Everything from oh, okay. Sorry, I got distracted because we have somebody impersonating Angela Lance here. So, but that's okay because her name is Angie Lance. So all you do, Angie, when that happens, if you look up on the screen, you're not logged out. So all you do is just click to go in, and you're just there as yourself. Okay, but you're fine this way. As long as you're not a number, that's good. Okay.
Okay.
So then finishing up with kids and animals and video screens, they start to understand why, why there's a camera there, what the function is. They seem to really enjoy seeing themselves. But also they can learn from watching themselves also. So I don't know if my horse analyzes video the same way I do, but she sure enjoys watching it. And I've set it up for her to watch herself on the iPad when it was near dusk, so it wasn't real sunny outside. And there was another horse in with her, and I set the iPad up on a stand where they could, both look over the fence at it. And both of them were just standing there watching the video just like somebody would watch a football game at a bar. They were totally absorbed in watching themselves on camera. Now, when you think about it, they may not have any idea what they look like. Okay.
Yeah, I've shown a few videos to younger kids, oh, look at you, that's just kind of just to build a little motivation. Oh, you did that well, or
yeah.
And sometimes older kids, I can be like, do you see how you did that there? What's making it harder for you if you do this? And then we just practice a few times. We're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Make sure.
There's definitely that.
Make sure you get their after video. Because that way they get to see the resolution. They get to see how much difference it looks, how much different it feels, and whether or not they've actually met your requirements. So I took tennis lessons when I was in high school, and it was really frustrating, and I think actually it turns out to be another one of those things that was strongly affected by my problem with eye dominance. So if you don't recall my story, my eye dominance flips back and forth in an unpredictable way. Apparently more than most people's do. And in a way that's so abrupt and extreme or whatever that I'll be ready to catch a ball in baseball and it'll hit me in the head because where I'm aiming at with my gloves is not where the ball's actually coming, if that makes sense. Anyway, they need to see what it looks like when they're being successful, when they're not being successful, and to really be able to pin down the details. Because what happened to me in tennis is I'd be serving the ball, and sometimes it would be brilliant, and sometimes it wouldn't be good. And the tennis coach would say, you need to do better. Well, how the freak do you do better? I have no earthly idea what I did the first time. You're telling me to do this, this, and this, but I don't know what I actually accomplished, what I looked like next to what you tell me is perfect, what I could change, or out of the gazillions of things that I could change, which one would make the good difference. And so this is something that video can do for us. Okay, now we just got joined by Margot, and Margot's video is up at the top. So let's click on it and go there. Okay, as soon as you get there, just stop it and let me know you're there.
Good, good. Maggie.
Kirsten said.
Good. Okay, is everybody there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me do one other thing and check and see if we've got anybody new on the call. Okay, so now it's me, Kirsten, Sung-hee, who's sickly, Angela, Michelle, and Margot. All right, so the first thing I want to say, Margot, is a definite improvement. Well done. Okay, and
Thank you.
yeah, and the first thing is I'm at minute 0 and looking, and the first thing I see is Maggie is totally focused on what you're doing. Did you put anything on the backs of your fingers this time?
No.
Good,
No,
good
nothing.
job. Did she do better, worse, or the same, in your opinion?
Oh, she's much better. And since I took that video, every time I give her a treat, I make her do target.
Oh, great. Okay,
She does it. Yeah, she does it like it's second nature.
that's good. That's good. All right, and just let it be real from now on, okay? She knows how to do it. And this is a great video. It's only 45 seconds long. That's really good. But only have her target now if you've got a reason to do it. Like you need to call her someplace, or you need to put a collar on her, or check her ear, or whatever. Don't do any repetitions, okay?
Okay.
Until you go to change things. Like when you start to increase duration, then you'll do a little bit of repetition, but not very much. You'll only do a maximum of 8 trials in any session. Okay, so that's all really good. Here we go, guys. We're doing the countdown. 4, 3, 2, go.
Good. Maggie.
Okay, I'm going to stop it. I'm at 10 seconds. And I noticed something that affected Maggie in those first 10 seconds. Did anybody else notice it? Something that threw her off.
Yeah, she got a little spooked by, I think, maybe the rolling chair or just like movement in her peripheral she wasn't focused on, I think.
Yeah, and also there's a big foot hanging out there. So that foot, especially to a dog, can look enough like a fingers and a hand to be confusing. But she recovers. But she shows, and this isn't a thing with your training technique, okay, Margot? This is just something that happened to Maggie, and she has to cope with it. So I'm at 5 seconds, and she gets right back on her job, and she does what she's supposed to do. And then the foot moves right over the top of her, and she still finishes her target and gets her treat as she scoots out of the way. So it's almost like she's running a gauntlet in her mind. Now watch what she does. This is at 7 seconds. And she goes away, turns around, and comes back. She's setting her own threshold. she's going back out to where she knows she's out of the zone, so to speak, and then she's going to come in as far as she feels comfortable to come in. So she doesn't dawdle or anything. She turns right around at 12 seconds. She's back in position to come in. So I'm turning the video on again. She comes straight into a target, just as nice as you please. And then waits while you give her the food from the second hand. Okay, and you left your fingers out there, and so she was relying on your verbal cue to tell her to touch again. It'll make it a little easier for her if you present your fingers along with the verbal cue. So both of those things will confirm for her that she's supposed to come. But as you can see, it's not a deal breaker. She gets it. So we're at 20 seconds now. And you've got your hands out there. And she's a little confused, turns around, comes back. And that time you moved your hand, and that seemed to help her to know to come into your hand right then. And there you moved it again. That's at 43 seconds. And that helped her also. So I would say that the next thing to work on is to use your hand movement in presenting that target to her to help her be confident about this is the time that I want you to come touch. My fingers may be in view all the time, but when I present them like so, that's your opportunity to come in and touch. Now, okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I would say that by giving her more room and getting her off of her comfort zone, I would say she's improved probably 200%.
Yeah. I got her off that sofa. That's
yeah. And she's coming right to you. She's staying right by you. And she's cycling herself in and out. She's learning to cope with choosing to be with people. So who knows why that... Go ahead.
I had my 2 grandchildren, one of them taking the video, and their parents here for the week. The house was just chaos.
Yeah. That's good. So,
very well.
Yeah, she did really well. And sometimes when it's like that, something like training can give the animal a focus and allow them to feel successful and like they have control over things. It can be very therapeutic. Not to mention, when other people comment on how good they are, it gives them a form of attention which they can tolerate better than somebody trying to touch them. I myself like to be admired by men, but from a distance. I don't want them to touch me. Okay, well, some men can touch me, but we won't go into details here. Okay. So the next thing is that Kirsten, when she first came on tonight, talked about something she's seeing in her own training that I think might be useful to you also, Margot. And that is that you made exactly the right changes, and now there's one more change that you can work towards. So I mentioned putting your fingers out and making your target move to get the animal's attention. At the same time you say here, or touch, or target, whatever you choose. So the other thing that would be helpful is you've got in your mind that you're going to tell her to target, and then you're going to intermediate bridge her till she gets there. And then when she gets there, what do you do? What are you theoretically going to do? What do
She
you?
was the treat with the good business.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. The good is while she's going there. When she gets there, it's good treat.
Okay.
So what happens to trainers is your dog is too fast for you to use an intermediate bridge. So you're trying to just be thorough and here, good, treat. But in reality, you go, here, she's there. And you go, good, as you bring the treat to her. Okay? And you're actually paying her for duration. Because she's staying on that target the whole time that you're saying the good, and getting the treat to her. So, when you go back and you start to work on duration, you're going to tell her, okay, you're going to hold for 1. Hold good. You're going to hold for 3. Good. Ready? Here, good. And then you're going to take that target out. And you can watch the videos that I did of working with duration to refresh your memory on it. And then the next one would be 5, and the next one would be 9, and you're done. Don't do any more than that for the first session. And that's going to help you catch up with your intermediate bridging. But the other thing you can do is practice. Use a spoon or pencil or something to represent Maggie. And watch the video, see what she does. She comes in and she targets almost immediately. And she's too fast for you right now. And she always will be. Okay? My dogs are too fast for me. And you're programmed that you're going to do the good, and you don't have time to do it. So, it's not a big deal. It's just that you added another variable without realizing it, and that was the amount of time she had to stay on the target before she got her treat. So in order for her to consciously understand the idea of the duration is getting bigger, she may have a sense that it's getting bigger, but she doesn't actually know that for sure until she starts counting it with you. So you're just going to go straight into duration, and you're going to tell her ahead of time how many counts. So review with me, what are the 4 steps going to be? What's the very first duration?
3.
That's the second one. The first one is an instant. Good. The next one is 3. Good. The next one is what? You're going to double the
7.
5.
6.
5. You're on the right track. You double the intermediate bridges, so you went from 2 intermediate bridges to 4 and a terminal. Good. And the last one will be 9. Good. And you've got the video from Leslie and the video from Sung Hee that you can watch to show you how they learn to do that pattern. And he just...
I don't see it. I don't see those videos on the chat. In the chat.
No, they're not, because the chat, my computer closed down overnight. You know, like it wasn't my big idea. And so I lost them. But here is Leslie doing pattern counting, putting it in our chat. And I'm going to go get the one that shows Sung Hee. Okay, there you go. There's two of them. And there's one up here for Michelle, and we haven't looked at that one yet. So, overall, outstanding. Golly, when I think of where you were 6 months ago with her, there are a lot of owners that never get their dogs to develop past, like they come with a problem and they never get past that problem. And when you think about Maggie, she's been this way for over a year before she came to you. The idea that she is able to recreate her life once she's mature is outstanding. That's really a big deal. And you're opening up the whole world to her. She's going from a place of being uncertain and lacking confidence and not being comfortable and not wanting to participate to being able to participate even when things are chaotic. And to choosing to come to you and choosing to be with you and all this stuff. And hey, you didn't even have to spread scrambled eggs on your hands. You get an A. You get an A plus just for letting go of that crutch. And isn't that huge when you realize she'll do it for you just because she wants to?
It is. I kind of am very surprised that she's come such a long way.
Yeah, I understand.
I've had her for 10 months, and she's a different animal. That's for sure.
And you've done it all by yourself. It's really, really good. I understand.
What do you think? What do you think your role has been?
Well, I'm glad to be a guide for you, but when we first started talking, you were talking about hiring me to come in person. I'm like, you can do this, and you have done it. So, but I want to just say that I really understand what you're saying about the surprise. And in the Talk to Me booklet, I talk about Lila. And Lila, the gray seal, had a chlamydia infection in her eyes, and it caused her to go blind. And the vets were afraid it would go up the optic nerve into the brain and kill her. So they wanted to give her a bolus of penicillin behind her eyeball to block the progression of the bacteria into her brain. Now, a penicillin injection is very, very painful normally, although we didn't know if she had pain reception in that part of her body or not. So we didn't know if it would be extremely painful or not painful at all. But we knew that we needed to do that, and so the vets asked me to, there was a way that we could get them to lay down on a board, and then we would put all these seat belts on them. They would strap around the board and strap her onto the board like you would strap somebody onto a gurney before you lifted them in a helicopter. And so I did all that, and the vets got there, and she, the straps kept her laying down, but it didn't keep her from moving from side to side. And so she could have grabbed somebody's arm and ripped it off. And the vet said, well, that's too risky, we can't do it. And I said, wait a minute, what if I put her on her little seat, take her off of this board, put her on her seat, and I'll put an arm on either side of her face. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. Because they weren't going to get bit in that case. I'd be the person that got bit. And I had the least relationship with Lila of any of my animals. She'd always been stressed. She'd always been really hyper and reactive and so on and so forth. And I didn't know if anything I said even made any sense to her. And I told her, Lila, we have to give you an injection, and it may hurt like hell. And here's where we have to give it. And I touched her eye, and she squeezed her eyes shut so hard that mucus and liquid spurted out all over my shirt. Like it flew out like 2 feet from her face. And she was so stressed and so ill, she didn't even want to go in the water, which was security for a gray seal. She was completely dry, and she was clenching her little flipper tips. And on a seal, the front flippers have claws on the end, like a flattened dog paw, not like a sea lion where it's more like a wing. And she's standing up on her little claws, just clutching at the ground because she's in pain or whatever. And I told her, okay, so you tell me when you're ready. And she immediately blew off CO2. She goes, and breathed out as hard as she could. And then she did it again. Well, that's what they do before they dive. And they can lower their heart rate. It's like meditating for her. She was getting ready to dive. She wasn't going to actually dive, but she knew how to get herself ready to relax as well as she could. So she's making this big effort to relax because I told her we're going to do this thing and it could hurt. So you tell me when you're ready. And rather than running away, she got ready. And she assumed the position, and I whipped my hands on either side of her face, and I told the vets, go. And they stuck that huge needle right above her eye, and the stuff is just pouring out of her eyes and sheeting down the front of her. It was just so much pus and mucus and tears and everything. And then they pulled the needle out, and they said, oh, that wasn't so hard as we thought it would be. And they went away. And I sat there in shock. I could not believe that Lila would trust me. I mean, we're not talking about, oh, Lila, can I touch your eye to put ointment on it? We're talking about, Lila, I know you don't feel very well, but how about if I stick an umbrella spike into your eyeball? Doesn't that sound like a good idea? But she had to know, I guess, that because of the way we had been together, even if we weren't close, I always told her the truth. And I always tried to do things so she was clear that I was doing it out of her best interest. Like, she wasn't going to be the star of a show where I would make fun of her. If she was the star of a show, people would be clapping for her. And so on and so forth. And all that stuff pays off. Anyway, I was so humbled that she did this. I was so humbled that she trusted me in this situation, that she allowed me to help her to save her own life, you know, by trusting me and by following my guidance. And I sat there for a minute, and all of a sudden I burst into tears. I can't even tell you to this day exactly why. It was just an incredibly profound realization, and also a realization that I'd sold her short all this time, that I thought just because she had extra challenges with being calm, that she didn't actually understand what was going on, that it didn't mean as much to her, all that kind of thing. So just by looking at these instances, we're giving ourselves gifts to see how important our relationship is to the dog or to the other animal, just as important as it is to us. Okay, anything else, Margot?
No, I'm very pleased with her progress.
Yeah, you should be. That's good. Okay, now we're ready to do Angela's video. So just go ahead and click there. Okay, I've got my sound off. So this is only 18 seconds, so you gotta like get ready, put it on 0, And go ahead and mute yourself if you have a thing to mute yourself. I'll give you a countdown. 4, 3, 2, go.
Good. Good, good, good. Good, 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 good. Good, 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 good. Good, 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 good. Good, good, good. Good, 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 good. Good, 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 good.
Perfect, Angela.
Good.
Okay, so that's good. She's got the rhythm. She's doing the sung he twisty finger thing. Her count is perfect. And her rhythm is perfect. She's got all the little dips and everything else. And what are those little dips going to do for her later? They're going to make it so that they'll help her recall this pattern. As soon as she stands up and starts twirling her finger and swaying, it'll start to come back to her, okay? So these are just memorization tips from people like the Hawaiians. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Hawaiians, you had to memorize your entire genealogy back to Noah. And in your initiation, if you didn't do it right, you get put to death. So somebody like me, I probably wouldn't make it this far. Angela, anything you want to add? What are you doing right now? Do you want to talk about anything in particular?
No, my dogs are all about to go nuts, so I'm muting.
Okay. Well, I saw you had some extra help in doing the patterns.
Yeah, my Chihuahua was very, very helpful in that.
Yeah. I'm like, she's in
What are you doing?
Yeah, she's infested with flying dogs. How does that happen? Okay, well done. That's really good. Okay, so now we're going to the next Angela video. This one's a whole 23 seconds. So, Angela, you're really good at getting right to the quick of things. That's good. Okay, 4, 3, 2, go.
Good, good. Good, good. Good, good. X. X, 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 X. X. X, 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 X.
Okay. Angela, I love you dearly anyway. But you got the wrong end of the stick on this one, so let's talk about it.
I don't have it on my.
Okay,
I don't have expected Angela on my.
Okay, hold on. Okay, this is the second Angela one, Margot. I just put it up again. Okay, so Angela, it threw you off to not have a dog. So you have two hands there, and it's like...
Yeah, it really, really did.
Yeah. So it's like your hands are talking to each other. X, 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 X. And in reality, you're talking to the dog. So one of your hands is carrying all the conversation, and the dog is just eating. So the first thing is, let's say your right hand is you and your left hand is the dog. Your right hand presents the food saying X, and then as the dog takes the food, says X again. You do that 3 times. Now you're done with leading with the X. No, you're not. Okay. You put your right hand behind your back and you say X, and then X, 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 as you bring your right hand out to the dog, which is your left hand. You do that 3 times. And now this is the hardest step of all. As you present your finger targets, you've got to will yourself to say here instead of X. Because up until now, every time you put those fingers out, you say X. But X was to pair the food with the signal, and now the dog understands that, and now we're going to start to have a conversation. And the conversation is, will you touch this? Not X, but here. So then as the dog touches it, you're going to say what?
X.
Yeah, and give them the food. So if you find it easier to do it with a dog, that's fine. Your dog is doing great on that. But
Yeah, I was having all kinds. That was like 3 times I tried to do it without a dog. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Here you go.
yeah. That's what you got to do sometimes. But it'll niggle you. And one of these days you'll do it again and you'll get it done perfectly. And part of all of this is a physiological thing for your brain and your subconscious to get a chance to work on it, and it all comes together. So there is no wasted step. It's all part of the process. And, good for you. You just jump out there. We get it done. And we're all going to have good and bad days. And I sure make my share of mistakes, so it's all good. Anyway, well done, and thank you for sending that. And I think your Chihuahua wants to do the next one.
I may work with him next.
Yeah, I'm seeing your Chihuahua jumping through flaming hoops, but that's just me. Okay.
Yeah, he probably would.
Yeah, I think he would. All right, so now we're moving to Michelle and Jazz for duration. So tell me when you get there.
We're going to do duration. We're going to work on...
Okay, so this is a 1-minute video. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
4, 3, 2, go.
We're going to do...
We're going to work on chin for 3. Are you ready? It's going to be good. Chin for 3. Okay.
Now, I love that Jazz laid down on the ground. She's like, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. I'm going to calm myself down. Because she's already 0 to 60 just in, just sitting there. There she is, man. She just whips that chin in there.
Okay, now we're going to do chin for 9. That'll be good. You ready? Chin for 9. Good. 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 Now we're going to do chin for 1. That'll be good. Are you ready? Ready? Chin for 1. Good.
Very nice. Very nice and very clean. And with a dog that really has to work to keep it clean. Because she's like Rocky. She wants to be 10 places at once. And for her to just be one place is actually harder. She would love it if she had to turn around 20 times in between. But instead, she's just holding it together. That's really good. Okay, Michelle isn't in a position to be able to talk. Unless you can, Michelle. If you can, then go ahead. But otherwise, we're moving to your pattern counting video. Okay, so do you guys see the next one? It ends with FJL. Okay, and click on it and get to 0. Okay, here we go. 4, 3, 2, go.
Good. 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 Good.
Good.
Perfect. Perfect. So guys, as you go along with this little skill that you have now, this ability to count with a pattern, keep track of it and just notice where all you can use it. How many little places, all the little usefulnesses of it. I think it might surprise you. Because if you only use it for cycles, it's been a lifesaver for me. Because trying to keep track of counting while you also do something with an animal sets everybody up for failure. It splits your focus when you're dealing with things that the dog is reactive to anyway. That's not the time to have a split focus. So I'm eager to find all the places. Remember, you can use it to expand duration. You can use it to expand the time for cycles. You tell me what else you find to use it for, okay? You can even keep track of how many seconds. I start doing interval training. They say, or it is being said now, that the most effective kind of exercise for losing weight is high intensity exercise for 30 seconds to a minute, 4 minutes of rest, and then you do it again. And you do it up to 6 times. Well, I'm like, oh, I can do 6 minutes, especially if it's 1 minute at a time with 4 minutes in between. I have started steadily losing weight after working really diligently to lose weight for years. Years. And always getting lots of exercise and walking a lot and everything else. If this turns out to actually work for me, I'm going to write a book about, well, probably not, but you get the picture. Anyway, the point is that I have found that I can keep track of 1 second of time just about perfectly. Like, I'll look at my stopwatch when I think a second is up and I will be right on the money. So I can time my own intervals. Last night, I went out and worked with my horse, and we walked really fast for a minute. Well, I had to decide how far did we have to go till we had gone a minute, and I was exactly right on. So who knew, right? Okay, Michelle, if you have... Okay, so she says, I can't talk, but yes, that's her. Okay, well done. That's the end of our videos tonight. What I'd like to do is go ahead and let everybody go home early, but I'd like to talk to you for 3 more minutes till 8:25 if you guys are up for it. And what I would like is I would like you to give me feedback on how this is working for you, because I have more technical information for you, but I'd rather just keep taking you through the physical aspect of the training, which is the nuts and bolts of it, and then we can get back to the technical parts of it, unless you guys feel like you want more of the slides and everything right now. So the slides are ready, but I'm putting the focus on you guys doing the video and actually just working the information that's already been presented. Is that working for you? Or do you want more content, or what? What's your pleasure?
I like it this way. It's making it easier for me to be able to focus and perfect and then move on after we've gotten it down pat. And I really like seeing everybody else's videos so that I see different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
I'm a visual learner, so just hearing it doesn't work for me. Seeing it makes it click. That makes any sense.
It really does. And also what I find is people will learn things from watching somebody else's video that they won't learn from themselves, because you did it, you did your own, and it kind of it blinds you to certain things. And so when you look at somebody else's video, you didn't do theirs, and so you notice everything. It's easier to go back and review your own video for those traits. You know, it raises questions that you wouldn't even have watching your own video.
Yeah.
That's a strange thing about the way our brains work, but I'm finding it more and more. Oh, and Michelle's wants everything. She wants more content, more lecture, and more video how-to. Oh, okay. So, Michelle, you're saying that it's a little too much on the applied side for you. You would like to have more information going forward at the same time. Duly noted. Okay. I'm going to think about how I'm going to time that. All right. All right, so it sounds like I was thinking we're about ready for the next set of slides. So let me think about where we are. We've done bridges, targets, duration, pattern counting. So I think the next thing that we do is body parts, and that's a set of slides. So what I'll do this week is I'll try to get these different listings organized so that we've got all our videos that everybody can watch the entire set of them, and I'll get the next set of slides ready for next time. So go ahead and do your next video session. All right, whatever we talked about tonight, go ahead and do that. But next week, you will get the slides for body parts, okay? Anybody have anything else? Okay, thank you for coming to be together tonight. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you soon.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Good night.
Thank you.